On Sunday, Lebanon voted in its most crucial election since the 2019 protests. The country is going through its worst economic crisis in decades, one that has been brought about as a result of poor financial policies. So these parliamentary elections were particularly crucial. Reports now suggest that Hezbollah and its allies could lose their parliamentary majority, a major setback for the bloc in the crisis-hit nation. Counting is still underway, but trends suggest a major setback for the Hezbollah-led bloc. While the Hezbollah has retained its seats, its other allies, like the Free Patriotic Movement, suffered losses. The Hezbollah is currently Lebanon's most powerful faction. It was founded back in 1982 and is backed by Iran financially and politically. The Shiite group's political sway has expanded since 2018. In the last election, together with its allies, Hezbollah won a parliamentary majority. Hezbollah and its allies won 71 seats in the 128-member parliament. But this time, things look bleak. Sources suggest it could be improbable for the bloc to secure more than 64 seats. For the Hezbollah, one of the major shocks was in the central Alay district. Hezbollah allied Druze politician Talal Aslan lost his seat to newcomer Mark Dow. Aslan was the scion of one of Lebanon's oldest political dynasties. Meanwhile, Mark ran the elections on a reform agenda. However, the group that has made major gains is the Lebanese Forces. The Saudi-aligned group won at least 20 seats, up from 15 in 2018. This will make it the largest Christian party in the parliament, a title that has been held by the Free Patriotic Movement since 2005. The Lebanese Forces got established in 1976 as Lebanon descended into civil war. It was created by Bashir Gemayel, a Maronite Christian. Samir Jejer took control of the movement in 1986. The Lebanese Forces agreed to the peace deal that ended the civil war in 1991. Lebanese authorities banned the Lebanese Forces in 1994, jailing many Lebanese activists and seizing their assets. Sunday's turnout in the election was a dismal 41%. It was 8 points lower than the 2018 polls. Many polling booths lacked electricity, forcing voters to use their smartphone lights, a reflection of Lebanon's worst economic crisis since the civil war. What makes the election even more complicated is the sectarian power-sharing system. In Lebanon, the president must be a Maronite, the prime minister is a Sunni, and the speaker of the parliament must be a Shia. While Hezbollah and its allies could lose their parliamentary majority, no other bloc now appear to have a majority. This could lead to a political deadlock as deeply divided factions hash out power-sharing deals. Clashes are now breaking out in parts of Lebanon, including Akkar in North Lebanon and West Bekaa. These are both Sunni-dominated areas, and there are fears of more violence. The next parliament must elect a speaker. This is before it nominates a prime minister to form a cabinet. Lawmakers are also due to elect a president to replace Aoun, whose term ends on October 31st. Any delay in cabinet formation may further postpone reforms that are needed to address the economic crisis and unlock donor aid. Let's talk more about this Lebanon elections, and we are being joined by WION correspondent Gadi Francis from Beirut, Lebanon. Gadi Francis, good to see you. How much longer will citizens wait for the final results?
Well, usually the next day, the following day for the elections, we witnessed the Minister of Interior saying the results. It's the first time this diaspora vote is happening like that, so it is all new to the Lebanese community. Right now in the central court for the country, there are judges, they are continuing the counts, but because there was a delay and there are a lot of fears in such a country of fraud, of political influence, because many contradicting news was coming from the campaigners for each and every party. So I think this is why the Minister of Interior went out in a press conference just a few hours ago. He started saying that we will just say the districts that are confirmed. Other districts are being counted. And there's something else that sometimes you can kind of sue or protest some violation of the rules of elections. For example, in some villages, by force, or some ballot boxes were altered with or broken. These kinds of protests have been also given to the court. So this also takes more time. Now, what has been confirmed is already some plus or minus, it's not a surprise anymore. Hezbollah in the south and in Bekaa has taken more than 350,000 votes from their supporters. They did already baptize themselves as the Shiite leading power, and they won their own local challenge. On the other hand, the Beirut district, some of the places in Beirut still not announced. Al-Matan district, which is also very controversial. There is a reformist similar to Mark Daw, but different a little bit, and more leftist. Jad Ghusl, we have previously interviewed in WION exclusive. Jad Ghusl is now running against 4 political parties, 4 traditional political parties, and the news say that in the count of the ballots, he might win or not. So some of the main icons of the country, still we don't know the results. But in terms of majority, it is already speculated and anticipated. And just like the whole world's agencies are saying, yes, the LF has grown. Yes, the majority alliance around Hezbollah might not be the same. But in terms of nominating presidents or even the Speaker of the Parliament, also we must note to our viewers and to colleagues in the studio and everyone around the world that in Lebanon, you can be anti-Hezbollah as for example, Walid Jumblat, but also vote for Nabih Berri, which is like the coalition for Hezbollah. And the internal politics, it's not always if you're anti-Hezbollah, you're anti-Berri. And in case of presidency, for example, if Hezbollah ally Sulaiman Franji, for example, is the next president, he might take the support of anti-Hezbollah parties inside the parliament. So this is very complicated. What is now known for the Lebanese people is that the elections are over. More than 70% of the votes have been counted, and we are still witnessing by the hour more and more announcements by the media, by the court, and as per the Minister of Interior.
Gadi Francis, if you can hear me still, what will be the impact of these parliamentary polls on the upcoming general elections and on the politics in Lebanon?
These parliamentary polls have really shaken up the system in a way. The story that you mentioned in the introduction, Eric, about Mark Daw versus Talal Arslan says a lot, because Talal Arslan is a name, Arslan family is a name that we have inherited for more than decades in politics in Lebanon. We have seen that in the history of Lebanon as researchers, as authors. His grandpa was in the Lebanese politics. So when you come and you are a reformist, you're not allied with a certain traditional kind of party, and you shake that up, there is a new kind of political life in the parliament. But also, this cannot really change a lot about the Lebanese politics. Also, on the note, another side note, Eric, that some of the people that say they are reformists, they carry the reformist title, but they have been in politics for decades as well. We have Sami Jmail, his uncle, Kata'ib party, his uncle, his father were president, and Bashir Jmail, actually, you mentioned, is his uncle. We have Michel Maouad, who is a so-called anti-regime. His father was a president. His mother was in the government all during the Syrian era. So it's more about where you align yourself. They're not all new, but people, NGO figures, social civil activists like Mark Daw, they have really appeared and were amplified as powers and names in the Lebanese politics after the October 17th movement. But still, all that will not change the fact that this country, the political sectarian system, has been made into a pact after the Ata'af agreement that stopped the civil war in Saudi Arabia. Back in 2008, in Doha agreement, they all agreed to an untold truth that nobody can rule alone. So political analysts in the country, they are fearing an Iraqi scene.
Gadi Francis, I'm sorry to cut you short. I'm sorry to cut you short, but our time is over. Thank you very much for that update. Gadi Francis reporting live from Beirut, Lebanon. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.